Hey, this video does not contain spoilers, so don't worry, just watch on. And yeah, before we start, coming off of Chainsaw Man right now, fuck Power, fuck Makima, Shoko is my guilty pleasure waifu. I don't want to accept that, but I'm just gonna accept that. Anyways, hi. Awe but underwhelmed are gonna be the words I'm gonna use to describe A Silent Voice. It ranks 23rd on my anime list with some of the best mangas of all time, so my expectations were rather high. Honestly, I don't think it deserves that rating, but it does deserve some praise, and I'm gonna get to that in a bit. First, I'm gonna have to tell you the story. Before that, I'm gonna have to tell you a little bit about the art. The art is good, clean, and easy to absorb. It surprisingly also gets very detailed when there is a very serious moment and there are, very intense expressions required. That time the mangaka does an excellent job in creating a very, very detailed shot and basically a very detailed portrait. For me, it is probably gonna be in the higher tier of manga art. Moving on to the story, there are two main characters, Shoya Ishida and Shoko Nishimiya. Shoya is, as the mangaka puts it, on a war against boredom. So weirdly enough, every activity that he is involved in depends on whether it will kill boredom or not. I mean, he mostly bullies people, so I don't know how entertaining that is. Anyways, he finds the perfect opportunity because a new student just got admitted called Shoko Nishimiya, and he now had just one more person to make fun of, to fight with, or in this case, to bully the fuck out of. The situation actually gets better for him because he gets to know that Shoko is actually deaf. So the first few chapters are literally the mangaka telling us how badly everyone in the class treated Shoko, especially Shoya. Shoya's bullying stemmed from his curiosity of how a deaf person acts, and in this case, exactly how deaf she really was, like the degree of how deaf she was. In my manga collecting and reading journey up till now, the volume 1 of almost every single series is usually the best. But this definitely breaks the mold because usually when other series are introducing their characters, their motives, and what the story could potentially morph into. Like for example, in One Piece, we're immediately told who Luffy is, how he got his powers, and what he wants to become, which is the king of the pirates. But A Silent Voice, rather than that, tries to force feed you the past of the characters. After the first 3 chapters, I know for sure that the mangaka knew that everybody was going to be a little bit bored. But she still continued to tell us about the past of the characters and how they used to act when they were kids and how much they used to bully Shoko up till the end of volume 1, and that, my friends, is of course to create a sort of familiarity of the characters with the readers. All of the initial boring chapters is just there to stress on how badly Shoko was treated, so that suddenly when in volume 2 Shoya has a change of heart, you're gonna be like, damn, didn't see that one coming. To explain what I just said, by the end of volume 1, the person who used to bully others, Shoya, starts to get bullied by his so-called friends who left him because he got into some trouble because he was bullying Shoko. This is essentially when he starts noticing how shit it is to be bullied, and that essentially causes a change of heart. Even after a few years of this happening, Shoya's life had just progressively gotten shit, so he decides to sell all of his things, quit his job, give the money secretly to his mother, and do the one last thing that had been bothering him for the last few years, which was apologizing to Shoko, and then go kill himself. But when he actually goes to apologize, because he's new to sign language, rather than just apologizing, he also asks her to be his friend. I guess that's bound to happen because sign language literally looks like Charli D'Amelio dancing. Anyways, because they became friends, 90% of the rest of the story is essentially Shoya trying to forgive himself for what he did to Shoko and sort of try to give her her lost childhood and lost childhood fun back to her. That's essentially the basics of the story. But the real reason why I actually believe this deserves some praise is because it's just written intelligently. It feels like it was thought through. It feels like the details of the bullying part in volume 1 was totally on purpose because it is used beautifully throughout the rest of the story. There are callbacks and references which you'll only understand the depth of if you've read volume 1 very well. Apart from that, there are just these quirks in the manga that make it feel different, like the way it uses art to create emotion. Here, one expression goes from one thing to the other over a series of different panels, which is so essential to the story because Shoko can't hear and can barely speak. So it's really essential in understanding what she's actually feeling. Another interesting thing was, now that Shoya was getting bullied, every person that he heard backpitch about him, do something bad to him, every person was just cancelled out in his head. And weirdly enough, the manga actually drew crosses on everyone's heads. And this slowly came off if the person apologized or if the person did something good to, make Shoya notice that they're actually not that bad. And that again makes me feel like it was planned out. To be honest, these small details just add up and in the end create a very good manga. Another thing is the flow. The flow is essentially the flowing nature of the story. Will you shut the fuck up? The flow is essentially the flowing nature of the story, which is going to keep you stuck to the manga and will make you keep reading. What I'm exactly talking about is where one volume starts right at the cliffhanger, explaining what the cliffhanger was in the previous volume. It goes back down, it starts introducing new things, and by the end of the volume it builds again up to a cliffhanger. And this is the kind of thing which again makes you feel that it's planned, it is well thought out, and will make you keep reading. And well, these are all the good things I can say about it. And now I'm going to talk about the bad things. And oh boy, if they had gotten these right, the manga would have been nearly perfect. First of all, I'm just going to give you a minor spoiler warning here. For those people who are just going to leave, it's a good enough series to be read. It's good enough for your money. It's a good 8 out of 10 for me. But as this comment says, we were made to believe that it's going to be much better than what it actually was. So yeah, keep that in mind. And now, fuck off, this was the last warning. Now, the story. As it progresses through, it starts to feel like it's a little bit stretched out. In volume 1, like in hindsight, after I read the whole series, I can understand why volume 1 was so boring and a little bit repetitive. But around volume 5, things again start to get a little bit repetitive. And I'm like, dude, I understand Shoya can't forgive himself. He's trying to do all he can to make it up to Shoko. Don't keep telling me the same fucking thing every single time. Get on with it. And now, drum roll please. The ending. I understand what the mangaka was trying to do. I understand that he wanted that sort of ending where he left the ends a little bit loose so that the audience could make up their own, fictitious ending. He was basically trying to not spoon feed you the ending and for you to make it up on yourself. But that would have been fine with me if it didn't come up in like a natural progression of the story. But it did. Shoya and Shoko's crush had built up to this moment. I'm talking about the part where Shoya and Shoko meet after Shoya had somersaulted off of her balcony. I'm talking about that moment because that was literally where the whole story had built up to, and I believe that that was the perfect time for both of them to confess, and they never officially confessed. Shoya basically disguises it by saying, "I need your help to live." And I was like, dude, what the fuck? Just shut the fuck up and kiss her. So yeah, the manga is good, but the ending is a little bit compromised, and that just left a sour taste in my mouth. I was expecting like one big final moment. That never happened. So by the end of it, I was feeling a little bit lukewarm, and I was like, why did I even read this? But it's not as bad as, the ending. The whole journey up to that point is sort of worth it, and I would say 8 out of 10 is a pretty good score, and it is definitely worth your money. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. More interesting stuff is coming up. I have a new manga haul coming up. I have tons of new mangas that I just bought. And of course, Chainsaw Man and Spy X Family reviews are going to be coming up soon, right after this one. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. I really need your guys' help. I'm going to see you next time. Bye-bye.